day, kids! I'm your teacher, Mrs. Bell. How are you today? Are you excited for another learning adventure? Come on, join me. Let's have a wonderful journey. For a moment, relax and take a deep breath, for you're about to discover amazing and exciting facts on today's learning activities. What would happen when you drive your bike on a smooth road? You probably drive smoothly, right? But what would happen when you drive your bike on a rough road? You probably won't move much. Why it is easier to move or drive on a smooth road than a rough road? The answer is friction. So friction is... Kids, our lesson for today is about friction. Here are the other examples of friction. Scraping of ice, an example of friction. Riding on your bicycle, that is another example of friction. Playing a ball, that is an example of friction. Roller skating, example of friction. Running, that is another example of friction. That's awesome, kids! What is friction? Friction is a force that opposes motion between two surfaces touching each other. It is called friction. Let's learn more about friction. Try to find out the movement of vehicles responds to different surfaces. Which surface slows a movement of a vehicle? Smooth surface or a rough surface? So, the vehicles move smoothly on a smooth surface, while the other vehicle moves slowly on a rough surface. Friction is simply a force that reduces the motion between objects that are in contact with each other. So, friction stops or slows down movement. Friction acts in a direction opposite to the direction of the object's motion. Without friction, a moving object might not stop until it strikes another object. So, the smoother an object, the less friction it will create. The rougher the surface of an object is, the more friction will be produced. There are 4 types of friction, namely static friction, sliding friction, rolling friction, fluid friction. Static friction. The friction that acts on objects that are not moving is called static friction. Because of static friction, you must use extra force to start the motion of a stationary object. For example, think about what happens when you try to push a heavy desk across a floor. If you push the desk with a force less than the force of static friction between the desk and the floor, the desk will not move. To make the desk move, you must exert a force greater than the force of static friction. Sliding friction. Sliding friction occurs when two solid surfaces slide over each other. Sliding friction can be useful. For example, when you stop a bicycle with handbrakes, rubber pads slide against the tire surfaces, causing the wheels to slow and eventually stop. On the other hand, sliding friction is a problem if you fall off your bike and skin your knee. That's a big no-no when you fall off your bike, so you have to be very careful, kids. Rolling friction. When an object rolls across the surface, rolling friction occurs. Rolling friction is easier to overcome than sliding friction for similar materials. This type of friction is important to engineers who design certain products. For example, skates, skateboards, and bicycles needs wheels that move freely. So engineers use ball bearings to reduce the friction between the wheels and the rest of the products. These ball bearings are small, smooth steel balls that reduce friction by rolling between moving parts. Fluid friction. Fluids such as water, oil, or air are materials that flow easily. Fluid friction occurs when a solid object moves through a fluid. Like rolling friction, fluid friction is easier to overcome than sliding friction. This is why the parts of a machine that must slide over each other are often bathed in oil or lubricants. In this way, the solid parts move through the fluid instead of sliding against each other. When you ride a bike, fluid friction occurs between you and the air. Cyclists often wear streamlined helmets and special design clothing to reduce fluid friction. Okay, kids, let's identify the different kinds of friction. Choose your answer from the following choices. If you choose red, it means sliding friction. If you choose color yellow, it means rolling friction. If you choose green, it is fluid friction. If you choose blue, it means static friction. Okay, are you ready? Number 1 question. A bicycle stops using its brake pad. What is your answer? Okay, the correct answer is color red. It is sliding friction. Number 2, the bicycle tire rolling on the road. What is your answer? The correct answer is color yellow, rolling friction. That's great. Number 3, the swimmer can swim for 100-meter distance. What is your answer? The correct answer is color green, fluid friction. That's awesome, kids. Trying to push a heavy desk across a floor. What is your answer? The correct answer is color blue, static friction. That's great. Number 5, rubbing both hands together to create heat. The correct answer is color red, sliding friction. That's awesome, kids. Congratulations. Kids, get your pen and paper and answer the following questions. I'll give you 10 seconds to answer each question. Are you ready? Okay, your timer starts now. Congratulations, kids! I hope you enjoy our adventure on friction. Again, I'm your teacher, Mrs. Bell. Goodbye!